Okay, so this is where we're at so far. We're gonna grind that off. We gotta still cut on that. We've got to grind that. I was able to get those pried off pretty well. And I got to grind on that. For tonight, I think we're going to finish the loader frame here. And if I get a little extra time, I will grind this bead right there. We cut those off, but I don't think we'll have time to grind those down tonight. But we'll get those 4 sides done tonight. And that's probably all we're going to get done. So we'll get the camera set up and shoot some footage. I'm gonna just grind that the rest of it off. It's kind of gonna be a lot of work to grind that. It's pretty thick. That's the back plate of the. That one I was able to rip off most of the way, but we're just gonna have to work with it. I didn't have a way to pry on it like the other ones, so this is the last bracket we really got to do. So I'm gonna pick this stuff up, and these are gonna be our new brackets. They're wide because our new ones have a 3.5 inch inside. So they'll probably be offset to the innards a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. Probably about like right there, I'm guessing. We just need to keep it pretty straight on this top beam. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And we're gonna cock them inward a little bit because this is, we wanna make it as straight as possible on the boom. So we'll probably do it about right there. For tonight, we're just gonna grind those out, and when I got the grind wheel on, we're gonna take care of that intersection right there. That there has not been ground, it's just been cut off. It's real nasty. That'll get ground off too. So I'll put my face shield back on, respirator shield, and we'll keep on moving. I made one mistake with my machine shop. So I had them make these brackets to fit here, and I don't really like the way the triangle matches up. So what I'm gonna do is, this is their mark, their center mark, okay? And I'm just gonna make it 3 inches wide. And I actually found that this is 1.5 inches thick. So when this lines up with this, and we're square here, I draw. So we're gonna cut these pieces. I'm probably just gonna hold them and use the chop saw. But we're gonna cut these pieces, and then we're gonna use these pieces. That way I don't have to mess around with, I was gonna have to cut around this, and that's gonna be funky, and this is stable enough. I mean, this is 1/4 inch steel. So we're just gonna do that there. And you know, I wanted more surface area. I wanted it to be able to come down more across here for surface, but it's just the curl. You know, it's not going to be the most weight supported version, a weight supported area. Nothing like these, and so these will be for the boom, these big triangles, and they'll be, you know, they'll be huge. You know, they'll have so much surface area to weld on. So we're going to go ahead real quick, and we are going to get those up and running. So I've looked, and I don't think this chop saw goes a different direction. So I've got as tight as I can get it in there. It's not perfect. We're gonna go with it. not cutting very well. Only time I've ever used this was for tube steel. I mean, I guess I can vise it and break it there. So this one we're just gonna fix with the grinder. I'm afraid to bend this too much. Oh, it's starting to bend below the weld, and I don't want that to change the angle of our hole that is perfectly set where it needs to be. That's scored a lot better now. I think we're 100% going to use a plasma cutter on the next ones, or at least try to. Alright, so I'm just going to put a couple tack welds on this. I'm okay with where it's positioned. I tried to do 2 at a time. You know, I was going to put them both in, but it just didn't really work out very well. It seemed like I'd be able to get a tack weld on this a lot better, and then align the other one based on this. It's going to be a new welding experience for me here, because as funky as it may sound, is ever since I moved to Virginia, which has been like 6 years now, and then when I lived in Illinois, I had gas for my MIG welder, and I've just been doing everything flux core since then. I didn't realize that there's a different tip, so I've been doing all this with a real MIG tip and not the plastic tip. So we'll have to see if it makes any difference in welding. Maybe I'll get nicer beads, maybe it'll do nothing, I'm not sure. Give it one last look. Oh, I'm happy with it. We are going to there's hardly any tolerance in those pins. We ended up getting both of these brackets mounted up. I've got to trim this one a little bit here to allow it to roll down, because I built these as triangles originally and then I cut them out of that. This one's fine, but that one I've got to grind a little bit. I was going to plasma cut it. For some reason, the plasma cutter is not turning on. I got this tack welded in place. You want to make sure that you pull the cylinder out some, because you're going to need to, in this configuration, right, this is the exact elevation that the loader frame sets on the machine, and so the bucket hits the ground, right, the loader arms hit the ground. But I pulled the thing out about 2 more inches so that when you do a full retract, it pushes down on the machine. So got to definitely get that done. And then so I got that tack welded. I got to weld it fully here in just a second. And then I'm gonna find a way. I don't have a really long vise. My vise is just too small for that. So I need to find out what I'm gonna use to kind of pull that in tight so that I can get a weld on that too. And I used this to kind of tell me where I needed to be. You see the wiggle? So I just kind of made it straight on that loader arm. That's where it comes out straight on the loader arm, so that's where we're gonna weld it. So that clamp is just an ounce too small. Show you what I got here. So this is kind of straight on the plane. We're gonna throw a tack weld here. I'm a little worried about this welding on this weld here, but I'm gonna try to stay down on this. You can see kind of, this is the far left, right, and this is the far right. Okay, compared to the play that it has in that joint. I'm gonna set the tripod up and we'll throw some welds on that. I think we're a little on the hot side, but I would rather move fast than risk low penetration. If there's a better welder, sorry if that's wrong advice, You know, it's not really advice, I'm just kind of saying what I'm going to do. Because I'd rather weld quickly and keep it hot than risk low penetration. I think we got enough weld there that I don't think it's going anywhere. I'm going to move up. I'm going to run a bead of weld all the way on that thing. Then I'm going to take this off because I want to get a weld down on the bottom of this plate just so I have 4 sides. The good thing is I barely had to remove any paint for this project. Most of the paint was already toast to begin with. I'm just gonna have to grind that up, I think. I mean, it's not going anywhere, I don't believe, and I'll try to just clean that up. It's just, I have a real rough time upside down, and partially it's because of where I'm standing and the fact that with the loader arms there, I can't really get in there. We're gonna try for that, see how it looks once we can get it grinded. Or even wire brushed could help us. I'm gonna wire brush this whole thing for paint. I'm gonna be using one of these circle wire brush things. So I'm gonna go around this whole thing and try to loosen up any loose paint. You know, and this isn't going to be perfect. Technically, I should remove all the green paint, but what I'm really just trying to do is break off any loose paint and kind of score it a little bit while I'm doing it. Whatever stays, stays. You know, at the end of the day, this is a tractor. Loader, it's not, you know, a BMW. It does not have to be perfect. It's a piece of equipment. And the tractor it's going on, my neighbor's tractor, he's got really decent paint on it, but it's not, I mean, it's not showroom quality paint. But so I don't want to not paint it because it will stand out like an eyesore on his tractor, because he has decent paint on his tractor, but it's you know, it's not like it's BMW showroom paint on his tractor. So I'm using simple green. I know the container says purple power, but that's not what's in it. I did this with my fuel tank, and it turned out pretty well. The paint's still on it, it's really well adhered. And I had tried mineral spirits, but that stays pretty greasy and oily. So I've had decent luck with this. I'm going to wipe this down. You're going to see me first wipe it down with paper towel. Yes, I know that's not ideal. We use fiber, but they're cheap. And again, this is a tractor. This is not Mercedes. I'm going to blow this off afterwards. We're going to be using Rust-Oleum's Rust Inhibitor spray paint, followed by Rust-Oleum's John Deere Color High Gloss John Deere Green. I don't care that it's not John Deere brand paint. I had very, very, very good luck with the Rust-Oleum equipment paint that I used before on another project. And because of that, that's what we're going to use. And I used, actually ended up using Rust-Oleum's paint on my fuel tanks as well, in a satin because I didn't want it high gloss. And it laid well. It did not dry too quickly. And I was pretty happy with the finished result of it, with minimal, well, I DA sanded the whole thing, but minimal prep work. And so this is about the type of prep work I did with the fuel tanks. The paint has really worked well for that. Keep on using Rust-Oleum's products. On one of my other fuel tanks, I tried using Krylon because I wanted it, for the diesel tank, I wanted it I wanted it Hunter Green. And Home Depot was out of Hunter Green in Rust-Oleum's brand. And so I went with Krylon. And while it still held up, what happened with the Krylon paint was actually that it dried way too fast when you're spray painting a 36-inch circumference by 4 feet tall fuel tank. So it dried before I could finish, and so I could never keep a straight line, or a wet line is what I mean to say, and therefore it ended up streaky. And that didn't happen with the Rust-Oleum paint. I think it's because the flash time, if you want to call it that, is a lot longer. And that's what you need when you're painting big projects. You need a long flash time because you need to be able to keep and maintain a working wet edge, if you want to call it that. Here's an update on our loader frame. So we've got the cylinders put back in. These are greased. They're holding grease. I've got to I still have to do this bracket down here. I know that's a little dark, but we've got this cylinder in, and we've got the thing painted. And overall, this is looking really good. We got one last cylinder put in, and then we're going to start running hoses. I'm going to wait to do these, the curl, where the curl attaches to the bucket, and then the bottom, until we can get it on my neighbor's machine, because I want to be sure that I get it in the right spot and I don't feel like I can weld it without being able to move the buckets. So that concludes the video for this segment of the John Deere tractor loader. Next and final part of this tractor series video, we're going to be putting on the hydraulic hoses, and we're going to be welding the brackets on the bucket for the curl and for where the bucket meets the loader arms. And that will completely finish everything we've done. And then we'll get it mounted on the tractor and test out the functionality. So definitely make sure you like and subscribe. That video will be coming next weekend, and we'll continue bringing more videos of things we do on the farm. Thanks.